Hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy Friday. Made it through to another week, though every day seems to roll into the next, so it could be Monday as far as I'm concerned. It's 1 o'clock. It's the Friday show live on the Dan Assor podcast. Thank you for those that are watching live and also watching on demand too. As always, just like to thank my patrons for their support: Tarsus Group, Hyve Group, 19 Group, Easyfairs, SISO, Rerusni, and Smart Digital. As ever, you can always watch all of my content on YouTube. Just type in Dan Assor, and also various programs are on Spotify and Apple in audio format. And again, type in Dan Assor. Reminder, 3rd of March, event relief, raising funds for Eventwell and event professionals. Do get involved. Have a look at my feed over the next few days. There will be some more information and updates. So that should be a great 24-hour vodcast marathon, so you can see whether I make it through in one piece. And actually, my next guest, or my guest today, is going to be getting involved. So we could possibly discuss that as well. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my guest today, Miriam Sigler. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How's it going?
All fine, thank you. Just checking we are live, and we are, so that's good. And actually, sorry. That was my phone. So yeah, we've got 10 people so far that have given up their Friday lunchtime to come and chat on the watch. So we better make it a good one. So Miriam, introduce yourself.
So my name is Miriam Sigler from Ways and Means Events. I run alongside Jill Jeans, my business partner, is freelance operations business. So we go in to companies that don't have any operations team and quite often don't have any event experience, and help run the shows for them, doing the operational side of things. With some of our sort of smaller, more independent clients, obviously we can sort of bring them our knowledge on what packages and support the sales and marketing team in developing the right way forward. So yes, we work on weird and wonderful, from data to design to drag to desserts, all very succinctly beginning with
drag. I can't let that pass.
Yeah, we did Drag World Europe for several years. That was we did it.
Sorry, is that drag as in like dressed like drag queens, or is that like
full on RuPaul's? We had an awful lot of the RuPaul drag race contestants there. It was certainly one of the sparklier weekends of our life, and there was one year it ran alongside the dessert festival. So we had drag in Olympia and desserts in Truman Brewery, and I was racing between the two and getting more sparklier and fatter as I went between the two, as if I'm going to be entirely honest.
Oh right, so good news. You do a whole range of events that you help with. Yeah, international as well, or mostly.
Yeah, we do international. We've America, Australia, Europe.
Oh wow! Okay.
It all sounds very glamorous, but what I tend to find is you spend a lot of time on an airplane, and it's best will in the world. An exhibition hall's an exhibition hall.
However, I bet you can't wait to go back on that airplane. I know I can't.
Well, my last aeroplane experience was on around the 20th of March last year. I'd flown out to Australia to run a show. As I landed, as I landed, my phone went absolutely bonkers. Who had declared a pandemic? The event director as soon as my phone came off airplane mode, was going, call me, call me, call me. Obviously the event didn't run, and it was like one of those disaster movies. So
you were in Australia. You touched down in Australia.
I was in Australia. Jill was in the UK trying to find, because we booked with the UK travel agent. By the time they were open, it was not that I was sleeping at that point in time, with the combination of jet lag and worry. So Jill was desperately trying to get me on a plane back, and it was like those disaster films where you just see all the options disappearing in front of you.
God.
So, and then I got booked on a flight, and the airplane cancelled me off it. I then eventually I got I was flying through Hong Kong as well, which, you know, added an extra level of fun and games to it all. And I made it home, I think, about 2 days before we got locked down. But I don't know who was more stressed, me or Jill trying to get me back.
If I had an award to give you, out of all the stories I've heard of people in the event industry around that time, that's up there.
Getting across the world, literally.
Because I know I went to Australia on my honeymoon, so it's a trek, obviously.
Yeah.
To go there and back, and we move on. Miriam, so you've been in this business for I don't know how many years, probably quite a few. Why do you still do it? What drives your passion for it?
If this year has taught me anything at all, it's quite how much I sadistically love this job and this world and everything that comes with it. The support that we've had as a business and personally from the people within the industry has been phenomenal. I think there's so a lot of my friends are dancers and actors, and I think we bonded over the fact you have to have a certain type of personality to do this job, to be, you know, happy with working 16-hour days constantly. And this year has really driven home to me it's not a job, it's a vocation, it's a sort of part of who you are, and that's what's kept me going. The people, I've also learned that I work much better to a deadline than not. Having that finality, being able to look and go, this is what I've achieved, this is, you know, I love we work very much as a team, you know, none of these none of the, what's the word I'm looking for, sales, marketing, ops, none of them work on their own. It's you all have to come together, you all need to work together, have the problem solving, the last minute thing not turning up, all that sort of stuff. You've got to have a
certain type of mind, I think, for that. I've got, you know, having done lots of trade shows myself, but even as an ED, if I'm being honest, always more sort of commercial, obviously. And I think I was saying to you before, ops sort of always did their thing. They're working all hours, stuck in a room, and just, you know, getting miles, but whatever. But I saw that camaraderie between the teams.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, right? It's not something that, because you're sort of all in it together. And you know, I had a real appreciation for what they did, because it was just easy for someone like me to phone up and say, oh, I want a light, my client wants an extra light, has he paid for it? Well, don't worry about
that. we'll sort it out. And I think that's it, you know, every show that I've done, I think I've dealt with everything there is to deal with, you know, and you know, you get surprises. I did a show where we got a call 24 hours before we were meant to open. The registration the registration that we designed and built wasn't arriving, and all of a sudden you said, you know, five of us were sat around a table. It was a greenfield site where I call it a table. It was a picnic bench. We're all on our phones sending messages, you know, phones, emails, and it's those things which sound hideous to people outside of it, but you really get that feel of everyone going. And there's, like, again, you on opening morning, everything's got to be ready. There's no options.
I guess it's like putting on a live performance or a play. Can you? We just touched upon it a little bit. For those that maybe, I don't know, are watching that want to get into ops, or don't know, you know, they're in commercial and don't deal with ops. How would you define operations?
Operations pull together all the ideas. So this is why, as an ops team, you know, and as we in Ways and Means, we really advocate being part of the whole team, understanding what it is sales are trying to achieve, what it is they promise their clients, what the vision they're trying to sell is. With the marketing team, it's what the visitors want and need, and that experiential element of it. So by understanding that, it allows us to then, you know, at the very basic level, order the shelf scheme, the design and build the features, the AV, the security, the catering, the first aid, the draping, the rigging, all those different bits and bobs that come together to deliver the vision that has been set out by the event director, the sales and the marketing teams. And it's taking those from from sort of an idea, a scribble on the paper. I've got one of my AV companies who laugh at me every time I ring them for a quote, because I once did them a scribble on the back of a napkin in the middle of a restaurant, which ended up being a 12-screen film launch.
But in a funny way, they understand what you meant, right? Because they're
exactly,
experienced. You've got that sort of bond. It's almost like telepathy to a certain extent, isn't it?
You sort of, or you're like, this is what I need. How do we make it work?
Yeah.
And I love the fact as well that I work with an awful lot of disciplines that I have a basic understanding, because I've taken the time to try and understand it, because I don't believe you can ask people to do something that you don't understand the principles of how it works. Sure. But I'm constantly learning from all these other disciplines. I mean, electrics, after having done this for years, it's still like a mathematical conundrum to me that I don't understand.
My clients are like, I've got this form, I can order a 1 kilowatt, 3 kilowatt. I'm like, that's fine, that'll be fine.
I mean, I get the basics of what powers what, but then they start talking to me in all sorts of numbers and newtons and whatnot, and I'm but so really, I love the fact that I'm always learning and I'm always finding new things.
Well, especially with all the new technologies coming on board, right? So you have to keep, if you're essentially, people are outsourcing to you, right? So they need confidence in you that you understand all the new stuff that's coming on street. So you have to continue to, I guess.
So we're constantly, it is, not even just the new technology, shell scheme, you might think it's the same over and over again, but we've always got an eye on what's coming out, what's new in the market, looking at ways of making things more sustainable, looking out for those little random products. I had a chat with a new company that came out, and all of a sudden I was like, well, that could work for that client and that client, none of which have a connection in their themes of what they're doing, but you can work out how all these bits of the jigsaw puzzle go together.
Sure. You're a business owner, or you've got a partner in your business. Pandemic strikes. I don't want to depress you too much, but what have you been doing for the last 12 months?
So there's been an awful lot of keep working along with the AEO, the Assor, those working groups to bring the events to industry to the forefront, trying to working on the guidance that will allow us to reopen, campaigning, all those sorts of bits in terms of the industry thing. And our clients as well, not all of them are members of the association, not that I approve of that, I believe everyone should be, but they're looking to us for the knowledge and the experience. And to be honest with you, up until October we were working on shows, because it was about 2 weeks before the 1st of October that it all got shut down again. We had shows due to open on the 1st, the 2nd and the 5th of October. So we'd done everything. We'd made them COVID compliant. We'd put in the extra gangways. We'd got the sanitation. We'd got extra cleaning. All of that stuff took an awful lot of extra work on top of what you'd normally be doing. So that kept us very busy up until that point. And now there's an awful lot of moving the shows, changing them again to make them COVID compliant, because looking at the first half of the year, they're moving into the second half of the year. So, I mean, it's not what I want to be doing. I want to be on site. I miss it terribly, and I miss all the people terribly. But we have been very, very lucky in that we have been able to continue, and most of our clients are still up and running. So working with them just to keep it that way and hopefully bring back the events industry soon.
So amen to that. Talk to me about being able to schedule work at the moment, because not a day goes by, and quite understandably you see a post somewhere, we've moved the show to September. I mean, I don't know how many shows now there are between September and December.
2 years worth, I think, in a 3-month period.
Yeah, but how's it work? Are they committing work to you? Are they saying, because obviously there has to be a code date, right, for them to do a show in September, maybe a 3-month lead time, whatever. So how are you working with them, like, in that respect?
It really depends on the client and the sort of shows that they're doing. But it's about keeping the communication open with the clients, us understanding what it is they're going to do, when they're going to do it. It's September if it goes ahead, which fingers crossed it does, is looking like an utterly insane month. But the way we've modelled our business, we've got our core team, and then we've got a group of freelancers who are some of the most amazing freelancers you could ask for, who are very understanding, and they're sort of penciled in for various things, so we can expand and contract to what it is we need. I mean, ideally, we wouldn't like to be doing 7 shows in 2 weeks in September, but if that's how it's going to be, that's what we're going to do. And I think everyone's just so desperate to get back on site that they're all just willing to say yes at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm sure by the end of the September, you think, right, I need another break. But again, for those that aren't aware, let's take a typical trade show, right? Like, I understand, obviously it depends on the size of the event, but what's the window that you need? Is it 3 months, 6 months? Like, so let's say someone says, right, yeah, Miriam, I've moved the show to September. What's the go date from when you have to start doing stuff?
Well, I'm not going to lie, and this isn't my sales pitch, so if any of my clients are on here, please don't actually take this as what we can do, but I've pulled together a show in 6 to 8 weeks before.
Okay.
It's not ideal. You lose an awful lot of your purchasing and bargaining power. You lose an awful lot of the sort of stability of things, but it's been done. Now, doing 7 shows in 2 weeks, I wouldn't want them all to have a 6-week lead time. But ideally, I would say the ops team get heavily involved about 4 to 5 months out from the show. My ideal would be, like I said, involve us earlier and sooner so that we can, the deals that are going out the door from the weird and wonderful sales contracts that get put together, it's easier for us to help you shape them than to try and fix them afterwards. So we, that's how we work with our client, is we work all year round. We know that the busier periods is that sort of 4 or 5 months out, but actually we like to be involved, and we keep up with them all year round.
I guess and a lot of shows have sort of rolled, that's the terminology, from last year, like this year when they thought they'd do it. Does that make it easier? So you've already got the template. They might have already have, I don't know, half the floor booked with exhibitors that have already been spoken to.
Yes and no. There's elements of it that it can be easier. There's certain elements that you have to do, regardless of whether it's been done already. There's an awful lot, and God bless the contracting community at the moment. Not only have they been exceptionally hard hit, but they're also then having to roll with all the changes. We've lost an awful lot of labour out of the workforce, all that sort of stuff, and they're trying to roll with it. So, moving it to the following year, just from my point of view, there's probably about 15, 20 conversations I've got to have with contractors about moving it. Can it fit in their dateline? Are they still able to service it? All those sorts of things. It's not just can you do it next year? There's a lot of factors that go in.
Talk to me about the supply chain, because I've done a lot of programs, spoken to the likes of Lou, Kiwanuka, of Assor and Ops Nest, and obviously Event Shaper. And obviously there's a real concern that a lot of the contractors or freelancers that you mentioned, they've got to earn a crust, right? So they might have started to do something else, realised actually I enjoy this and it's less pressurised, potentially more money. What have your suppliers, or freelancers, been saying to you? Have you lost people? Have you lost potential people that are not going to come back in, or what's your view on this?
So we have unfortunately lost a couple of people. Whether it's for forever, I don't know, but people have had to go. I mean, there's the monetary thing, but there's also the mental health thing. I've been lucky in that I'm still running a business and I've still got that focus and all the things that I've involved myself in. But for some people, and I get real rage on when people say, the people on furlough just sat there doing nothing for a year. These people have sat there watching their friends and colleagues get made redundant, wondering if it's them next. They have had nothing. They haven't had that focus and that drive. And like we said earlier, you have to be a certain person to do this, which is you live off your calendar, you have deadlines, all those sorts of things. So I think there's sort of a couple of issues. One, the workforce that we've lost, but also the workforce that have been furloughed have been out of the game for a year, possibly 18 months by the time we get back to it. You know, I'm feeling rusty having not done it for a year. This is the longest since I was 13 that I haven't been on site for. And I've had, you know, I've got X amount of years of experience and I'm feeling rusty. So the more junior members of our team, we're being very conscious about that. We're keeping in contact with them, doing regular training to keep them sort of in the loop. We give them updates on what's happening in the industry, but then the supply chain as well. You know, we've got, I think people don't realize the sheer size of the labor force that comes on site to build the shell scheme, to put out the furniture, to do the rigging, to do the AV. They're an invaluable part of what we are putting these shows on. But you know, they've all gone out and, you know, they're working in Tesco's, they're doing home electrician jobs, all those sorts of things where they're working 8 till 4, getting home, seeing their families. And apparently some people want to see their families and have decided that that's a better life than
Who would have thought?
I know, shock news to me. But it's a better life. They're getting paid the same, if not more, for less stress, without some organizer running across the floor at 9 o'clock going, everyone's got to stay, we haven't finished.
So I think it's interesting. So initiatives like the Ops Nest, fantastic, because it's obviously kept people together, education, learning, bringing new people into the industry, which we're going to need, with also new skill sets around digital, virtual, so on and so forth. Do you think generally, and this question is not just around finance, but it could be, do you think ops teams and the supply chain are undervalued?
I mean, you're asking an ops person that. I'm always going to say yes.
Question.
No, don't pay us quite as little as you do. Pay us less.
It's an important point, because also cash flow for small businesses, when you get paid.
Yeah.
You know, I stand accused of, you know, trying to get operation or suppliers to pay later in the process or even afterwards. You know,
I think things are going to change. I know, Lou, you did a panel chat a little while ago. I know Lou mentioned about paying contractors earlier. I think a lot of contractors got burnt. You know, there were trucks loaded, there were features built, there were stands built, and as everything got cancelled, people are like, well, you've not delivered it on site. I think there's a lack of recognition of it's not just it's not just turning up on site and putting out chairs. There's all the work that goes into making sure they're ready, that they're in stock, that they're loaded, that they you know, my furniture schedule changing every 5 minutes. They're reacting to that. The feature builds, you know, they're designed months in advance. That's time and that's money for those companies. They're built weeks in advance. Again, time and money that these contractors got burnt on. And that's going to have to change. You know, these are also the smaller companies that have struggled with cash flow. I mean, I'm in absolute awe of a lot of these businesses that have managed to, you know, most of us, had you have asked us a year ago, we could have gone 3 to 6 months probably without any money coming in. And again, it's looking like it's going to be up to 18 months. And ask any business owner, can you go 18 months with no cash flow? I don't think even the biggest businesses, I don't think would be able to manage that.
Yeah, I think you're being kind to say that people don't realise what goes on, and I think show organisers absolutely do. And ultimately, it boils down to sometimes what people think they can get away with, which is not right. But that's just that's the way of the world. I guess the challenge is going forward that it's almost like everyone has to stick to their guns in your side of the business. Because if people break ranks and go, I don't mind being paid 3 months after, I just want the job, then it's never going to change.
No, I think there's an element of that, but I think it's also a bit of communication between, you know, I understand a lot of organisers can't afford to pay everything up front. A lot of their money comes from the gate, but it's about having that open and honest conversation about, look, we've done all this work. Can you know, pay towards this? And I think again, it's a trust thing, and you know, I'm all about the communication, keeping it open and being honest. You know, if they turn around and go, listen, this is X, Y, and Z, we can't do X until you've done Z, and people go, okay, well, this is our position. Somewhere in the middle, there's got to be somewhere to meet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You mentioned the working group, Assor and AEO.
Yeah.
Okay, for those that, I'm sorry, just to say, if anyone wants to ask Miriam a question, I'm sure she'd be very happy to answer it. People that are watching, can you just bring to life what that working group is, what it does, what it's achieved?
So I sit in a slightly funny position in that I'm an ESSA member because we're a contractor, but I also sit on a couple of the AEO working groups as sort of with the organiser side of things. So I can't sometimes feel like I'm in a little bit in both camps. But it gives me a brilliant view, and I can see sort of where both sides are coming from. I mean, the working groups, there are many of them. So there's the AEO Ops working group that were very central to writing a lot of the guidance or sort of gaming it out a bit, so to speak. So there's the working group, there's the health and safety group, which for a bit of a safety nerd like myself is always very interesting. You see the latest developments, how all these different decisions, how the guidance is going to affect some of our safety responsibilities, because that's a key part of what we do as operations, which I don't think people really understand the sort of underlying elements of that, the risk assessments, I love a risk assessment. Who doesn't love? I do love. I'm a little bit geeky on those things. Give me a crowd management plan. I'm in my element.
It's just a whole different program.
So we've been laughing at ourselves. We've done this crowd management degree, diploma. Yeah. Like, really, the one issue we don't have at the moment is management of crowds. There's not many crowds to be managing anywhere.
Sorry, I'll take you off topic. So
so there's the health and safety group that means, like I say, gaming out and that's across association group. There's diversity and inclusion groups which have come about this year, which I think are going to do an awful lot. And as well, sort of talking about, you touched upon it earlier, bringing new talent into the industry to make up for a lot of the ones we've lost. I'm not on it, but there is a whole talent AEO working group. So I seem to be on some form of working group call at least once or twice a week at the moment.
Well, that's good. That's obviously a reflection of the respect that you hold within and your company holds within the community. So well done to you. But it's really good because, again, you know, I've been in the industry a while. If I'm being honest, I never really had any touch points with Assor or AV or AEO apart from going to their awards and getting drunk. You know. So this, for me at least, has given me more of an insight into the great work that goes on.
So the AEO, I mean, the AEO, Assor, AEV all make up the EIA, which they've been instrumental. So AEO's been at the board at the table with government. I know a lot of people feel like it's not moved quick enough or fast enough, but I think I have a bit of a background in politics as well, and how these things work behind the scenes is a tedious, and you've got, you know, sort of, if you've watched House of Cards or any of those, all the sort of backroom, all those conversations, not overly exaggerated a lot of the time, is you've got to speak to so and so to get to so and so to be able to put this in. I'm not diplomatic enough. That's why I'm no longer in the politics.
Oh, just as an aside, what were you doing? I
worked in the events and exhibitions team for about 10 years of the Labour Party.
Oh, right.
So, and my father worked, which is how I got into the Labour Party. My father worked for the Labour Party for about 25 years, which meant that I never got a yes or no answer to anything that I ever asked. There was always it was always the answer he wanted to give rather than the question that I was asking. So I have learned that trick somewhat.
There you go. That's a nice insight into your background. We will get back to events. It's just the time is uncertain. What do you think events of the future are going to be? I guess, again, from an ops perspective, are they going to be radically different? Is it just going to be more form filling? What's your view?
I think in the immediate future, so everything going to plan, if we get events up and running at the end of this year, which I think everyone is very much hoping for, they are going to be a bit different. I think there's no denying that. I think there's an element of the visitor and the customer are going to want to feel a lot safer. So some of the things that you know that we can do, like widening the aisles and extra sanitation points and all those little bits and bobs around the halls, that's going to be the immediate change. But I think there's a reason events have worked for so long. I think we would be stupid not to take on board some of the new technologies, and embracing some of the virtual elements. But I think there's, people want to be face to face. They want to be in a theatre together learning. They want you want to get that chance encounter, which, I've done an awful lot of digital events, attended them, and that element is just missing. And
you saying you're not enjoying this?
No, I'd rather be doing it face to face. 100% honest. I'd much rather be sat in a room with you chatting away. There's a different energy, and there's a different. But I think that this serves an amazing purpose, and I think you will see an awful lot more content from people around the world that previously, you wouldn't have got someone to fly for Australia for an hour's talk. But I think people are much more open to now maybe having a video link and things like that.
Sorry, who's going to pay for all this extra stuff that we got to do?
I mean, it depends what the organizer wants to do, really, doesn't it? I think so.
But they're going to have to do some stuff, right?
So if you're having to do some stuff, I think so the venues that I worked with in the lead up, in the October lead up, they couldn't be more helpful if they tried. We had a show going in at NEC and 2 going in at Excel, and the support that they gave and the extras that they were willing to do, there was additional space available. I mean, granted, that was because there was space available. So I know some of these venues haven't necessarily got the ability to expand the shows, but the support and advice they were giving us, and we were again working very much as a collaborative team in how we could facilitate these things in the entry systems, all the different elements that we had to put in. So the venues were being very helpful and very supportive. The widening of the gangways does result in
so my concern
basic costs, extra carpet, extra doors come into play, so there's extra security costs. So there are going to be costs for the organizer, and some are willing and able to do that, and not all are. But then there's other ways of doing it that are more cost effective, but not necessarily. But then they have an impact on the visitor experience. So rather than widening gangways, doing one-way systems, which I know a lot of people are quite anti. Having said that, when I started years and years ago, everyone was talking about, why can't we get the IKEA model working in our shows? Yeah. And now we've got the opportunity to try it and see if it works. And you've been on the floor. You've had all the stands complaining no one's coming past here. Well,
not on my shows.
But now with the one-way IKEA system, it's going to sort of help maybe take out some of those dead areas. So I think there's ways of doing it. There's timed entry, which again, obviously not in any of your shows, but at 3 o'clock, everyone sort of peters off. Actually, if we start doing it as staggered entry times, you get a more consistent flow throughout the day. We had one show who was actually delighted by it. They were like, everyone turns up at 10 o'clock, they rush all the stands. We don't get to speak to half of the people because they're all coming at us. And by 3 o'clock, there's no one there. So actually, by staggering it, we're giving them more of an opportunity to sell to more people. Yeah.
I guess the concern might be the extra costs that the organisers have to bear. They're going to try and get that back from suppliers in, reduced fees and stuff like that. But again, it's holding your nerve, I guess. Yeah. And, if you want us to do a good job, it comes at a price. What's the best event you've ever worked on? Okay, well, let me rephrase that. Maybe most exciting in terms of, I don't know, an installation or something different that you maybe hadn't done before.
So I mean, Drag World had the sparkle. Yeah. I can never deny my love of a bit of sparkle. Dessert World had an awful lot of desserts, dessert festival. But the one that challenges me every year and gives me something new and something different to deal with is Clerkenwell Design Week, which we do
Media 10, right?
for Media 10, yeah. That is a 2-week build where I moved to Clerkenwell. There are marquees. We turn a nightclub into an exhibition hall. There's a couple of churches, one of which is listed, quite heavily listed. As I know from my palpitations every time I go in there to see what's being built. There's a underground prison, disused prison that we use.
Oh, wow.
There's also, the showrooms are all involved. There's installations just dotted around in random spots around Clerkenwell. It's different every year. So every year there's a new challenge. The team who work on it are amazingly creative in what they come up with. You then have the elements to deal with when you're building marquees. You know, I've gone from walking around in sort of shorts and a t-shirt to full wet weather gear within the space of days. So that one challenges me every year and keeps me on.
So the space itself, I guess like if you're a painter, you know, the canvas that you've got in front of you to play with is quite an exciting thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And and it's also very pink, which suits my branding very well.
I did notice that. Just a quickie, guys, for the people that are watching, if you do want to ask Miriam a question, now's the time, because we're almost wrapping up. Or just come and say hi, let us know. What have you learned about yourself in the last 12 months? It's like an interview question.
I mean, I think I said to you before that I do not work well without a deadline or a diary in front of me. That is not that I love with the very bones of me, the job that I do and the people that I work with. That it is not an industry I want to leave. And that whilst I am good at living on my own when I'm out on site for 50 odd weeks of the year, a whole year on my own, I'm very bored of my own company.
You've got a dog. You told me.
I've got a dog. Yeah. He has been a godsend. Although even he gives me side eye when I start singing.
Yeah, he can't wait for you to go out of the house, I guess.
Yeah.
And just finally, what show? It doesn't have to be a client show, or what event, should I say, are you most looking forward to attending? Could be a festival, conference. Yeah.
This is going to sound so geeky, but Confex. I really want to get back to Confex. MASH have also been at the forefront of the campaigning for the industry. I want to be back amongst my people, seeing all the people that I've not seen for a year. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah. I think many people have said that to me, and I think it's now in June, so hopefully we can get back to doing that and having a big party on site.
Yes.
Miriam, thank you so much for your time. It's been fascinating.
Lovely to chat to you.
And I'm sure everyone that's watching and myself personally wish you all the best with the business, Ways and Means events. And we look forward to seeing you on site at a show very soon. So thank you so much. I'll pop you in the green room and we'll have a chat after.
Speak to you later. Thank you.
Okay, so that was Miriam Sigler of Ways and Means Events. Thank you so much for watching live and on demand. Again, just a nod to the fact that on the 3rd of March, we're going to be doing this 24-hour vodcast marathon. So please get involved. Laura Cole just said, it's been great. Can always rely on Miri to bring the sparkle. So thank you very much, Laura, for watching and for that comment. So guys, brilliant. Happy Friday. And just going to play a little exit advert. Thanks very much.